Alright, in this video I want to talk about the X-Men comic books and when they lost me as a reader, and here we go. I had been an X-Men fan since the late 80s and the 90s in terms of the comic books and watching the animated series and all of that, playing the video games. But I was trying to figure out, and only recently did I realize, as a reader, as a fan of the books, even through the bad times, when the image artists left, when there were storylines like Heroes Were Born, and even though the Avengers were the heroes were born, the X-Men side of the things, and even through some bad periods of the books creatively, I still followed it. I still stuck around. But when did I stop caring? When did I stop reading the books? And for me, it was sometime when I think about it, it was right before Grant Morrison changed the whole concept of the X-Men world. And you see, the X-Men that I knew and that you probably knew was a team anywhere from 5 to maybe 14 established heroes. The Cyclops, the Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Bishop, and the characters that you were used to. And that was the world, right? And then the early 2000s or so, you had the X-Men in black costumes, you had the leather costumes that were really non-costumes, and then you had Grant Morrison on the writing, and he actually made it like a school. Instead of like a small team, it was like a school with maybe hundreds of students, all new characters, and he changed things a lot. And again, some people say it's a great run, and good for them. If you enjoy it, fantastic. But for me, that was the point where I'm not interested anymore. That these are not the X-Men that I grew up with. That these are not the X-Men that I was familiar with. And the X-Men books have never been the same since. This is when they pushed the Cyclops and White Queen romance. And to me, it always seemed not natural. White Queen was traditionally always a bad heel, a bad character. And now they just made it like a misunderstood character. And it's not like a character who previously had some type of moral ambiguity that they weren't so bad. It was always established previously that the White Queen was just a bad character, a bad girl. And now she becomes a hero, And it just didn't seem natural. It didn't seem natural, that type of romance for Cyclops. At least to me, he always seemed the type with Jean Grey was always the natural path. Even from the very first issue by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, Jean Grey was the one for Scott Summers, And even from back then, the original run. And I just never saw the White Queen as a viable candidate, And then they got rid of Jean Grey again, nothing new there. Then they had, it wasn't my X-Men anymore. And even now, I try to get back into the series with the X-Men now, with Krakoa, etc., by Jonathan Hickman, and I don't like it. It's not the X-Men that I grew up with. Maybe some people like the X-Men books now and where it's going, but nah, it's not for me. One thing is, the X-Men, it always seemed relatable, it always seemed enjoyable, it always was about a team or a small team. And then, it's like now the X-Men are basically immortal in the storyline. They could get killed, they could get returned, And they've done that in the storyline with the Krakoa stuff, Powers of X, House of X, whatever. It's just, it's not good anymore. It's totally different, but I guess I would have liked to seen the 90s type of X-Men group, small group, a team of characters you're familiar with, and taking it from there. And it's just not as enjoyable overall, you know. And also, X-Men has been so convoluted, so that if you're not and don't understand what's going on now, it seems very hard to access it, to get up to speed with the book. It's very inaccessible to new readers. It's not enjoyable in that regard either. So the X-Men, that's when they lost me as a fan. Am I still a fan of the characters? Yes. Still a fan of the group? Yes. The stuff I grew up with, the stuff in the 60s? Yes. Comic books, cartoons? Yes. But in terms of following the comic books, no. You know, it's just my view on it now. I like the past stuff, still enjoy it. But the stuff now, that's when they lost me as a reader. That was the point of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll talk to you later.